What if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us. Just a stranger on a bus trying to make his way back home. What if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us. Just a stranger on a bus trying to make his way back home.
We arrive from many paths with different needs. If you have come seeking comfort, may your heart be soothed. If you have come for answers, may you find new questions. If you have come for inspiration, may your vision be renewed. If you have come to build beloved community, may the way open before you.
We come from many places, along different paths, bringing different truths. We come with different histories and different realities. And yet, we come together as one people, with faith that we can use our differences to heal ourselves and each other, to bring wholeness to a fractured world. May our lit chalice remind us that we are a people taught by different stories, with many voices, but always one people, working for a world where love creates justice and justice gives birth to peace.
When I was a little girl growing up in a suburb just south of Nashville, I grew up accustomed to seeing some interesting things. It wasn't unusual to run into country music stars in church or the hardware store, decked out in big hats and cowboy boots. They received the same treatment as everybody else, which is probably why they liked living there. Several members of the Grand Ole Opry lived in our neighborhood. One of them even had a pet leopard, or maybe it was a jaguar, that got loose on multiple occasions, running wild through manicured lawns. Tennessee is a wonderful place to live. Southern hospitality is real, and it was a tradition my mother was proud to uphold. She was a beautiful woman, stylish and elegant, and I loved accompanying her on errands. I was a shy child and would quietly follow behind her, mimicking her every move. She trained us from an early age to look people in the eye and extend a polite greeting with a smile, no matter what. So you can imagine my delight when one day, while shopping at the Super X drugstore, I made eye contact with what appeared to be a real-life princess in the makeup aisle. The woman was just as beautiful as my mother, wearing denim and rhinestones from head to toe, with gorgeous blonde hair and long red nails. Her teeth were perfectly white and straight, and she had dimples. I was mesmerized. Normally, adults don't pay any mind to small children, but this lady quickly noticed me noticing her and asked my mother if it would be okay if I helped her decide on a shade of lipstick. I couldn't believe it. She wanted my opinion. This seemed like a very big, very serious responsibility. I felt so special. My chest swelled with pride as I studied the tubes in her hand, considering which one I liked best, finally settling on the brighter, more obnoxious shade of pink. She conspiratorially asked my mother if it was all right for her to get one for me too. Dolly Parton bought 2 tubes of lipstick that day. One for me and one for her. As I waved goodbye, she asked me to think of her every time I put on my lipstick, and she would do the same. Because of that encounter, I've spent my whole life looking for ways to make a child feel special. And I also know the value of an outstanding lip color. It's been 2 weeks, and I'm still coming down from my Boston Marathon spectators high. I love Patriots Day. I am always moved to tears watching thousands of runners attempt this grueling feat, cheered on by huge, enthusiastic crowds who line the streets to witness their pain and their triumph. My dear friend and colleague, the Reverend John O'Connor, ran the marathon in 2018, the year now known as Epic Misery, due to the freezing temperatures, driving rain, and 30-mile-an-hour headwinds. While his name was almost indistinguishable under the large number on his race bib, strangers kept calling out to him all through the route. "I see you, John. Come on, John, you got this. Looking good, John." What a gift to make one miserable runner battling crippling leg cramps feel seen and supported amidst the throng. Last year, as I was rounding the sidewalk onto Hereford, the final stretch before the runners hit Boylston Street and the finish line, a giant roar erupted from the crowd. I quickly scanned the passing runners, expecting to see a flamboyant costume or maybe someone famous. Then my heart lurched at the sight of a lone, exhausted man who was starting to collapse. Immediately, 2 runners flanked him, and he was held by the kindness of those strangers and the exuberant love of hundreds of spectators as we screamed at the top of our lungs. After a moment, he caught his stride again and continued toward the finish, carried on the tide of our raucous cheers. What a sight to behold. Next month will mark the 10th anniversary of the Pulse nightclub shooting. This horrific event targeted Orlando's vibrant LGBTQ community and left a stunned country grieving the deaths of 49 people. Central Florida became a pilgrimage site for the bereaved. In an astonishing act of corporate generosity, JetBlue offered free flights to the family members of those killed in the attack. At just 20 years old, Omar Ocasio-Capo was one of the youngest to die in the Pulse shooting. He was a college student, a dancer, and one of those enchanting people known for lighting up the room with his presence. When Omar's grandmother traveled to Florida for his funeral, the team from JetBlue saw her and the fullness of what it meant to be grieving and alone on this sad journey. Here's flight attendant Kelly Karras telling the story. On our flight today, my dear friend Melinda and I had the sad privilege of attending to Omar Ocasio-Capo's grandmother as she made her way to Orlando to join her family in this unspeakable time. Knowing she was making this hard journey on her own, we made sure to be at her side every step of the way. Melinda stood quietly by her wheelchair while we waited at the departure gate. Kelly, the gate agent, boarded with her to help get her settled. Melinda and I offered the small comforts of a blanket, a pillow, a box of tissues, a water. She was understandably distraught, but met us with kindness, gentleness, and gratitude. I had the idea to pass around a piece of paper for everyone on board to sign for this grieving grandmother. Melinda started the process from the back of the plane, and we whispered the plan to the passengers as we made our way up the cabin, taking beverage orders. Halfway through the flight, Melinda said, "Kel, I think you should start another piece of paper from the front. Folks are writing paragraphs." So I did. Then we started one in the middle. Finally, running out of time, we handed out pieces of paper to everyone still waiting. In the end, we didn't just have a sheet of paper covered in names, as I had envisioned. We had page after page after page of long messages offering condolences, peace, love, support. There were even a couple of cash donations and more than a few tears. When I made our standard landing announcement, I added, "JetBlue stands with Orlando." Then, at the request of a couple of passengers and with her permission, we shared a moment of silence in Omar's memory. The deplaning process was very slow, but no one was impatient. As we left the plane, the passengers created an impromptu receiving line to offer their condolences. Some just said they were sorry, some touched her hand, some hugged her, some cried with her. But every single person stopped to speak to Omar's grandmother. I will never forget today. It was a beautiful reminder that people are kind. People do care. I'm so grateful for the generosity of my wonderful employer and for the humanity of these passengers. In the midst of so much darkness, I have hope that someday soon we will rally together to make the world a safer place for all. As we navigate the interactions of daily life, we are presented again and again with the choice to make people feel seen or to render ourselves and others invisible. I can rush past you on the sidewalk with my head in my phone, or I can look into your face and say, "Hello." When a toddler stages a dramatic public meltdown, I can tune him out with my headphones, or I can make a point of meeting his mom's gaze with a conspiratorial look and a smile that says, "Been there." When I'm chatting with a visitor at coffee hour, I can regale them with my charming stories, Or I can approach the conversation with curiosity and try to forge a real connection. When my darling partner launches into an epic saga about a work project gone awry, I can half-heartedly listen while compiling a mental to-do list. Or I can give him my full focus and nod along with empathy and understanding. To be clear, I'm citing these examples to demonstrate the range of ways we might choose to make people feel seen on any given day. The goal is not to transform into beatific vessels of human connection and magnetic extroversion at the cost of our own needs. But we can all embrace the intention to behold the full humanity in one another. As we expand our capacity to make others feel understood and valued, we'll create a profound shift in ourselves and in our world. We feel seen when both our physical presence and our identity, our emotions, our desires are acknowledged. The sense of recognition is a basic human need. In evolutionary terms, if your tribe doesn't see you, you are at risk of being left behind when the nomads move on. To see someone involves not just registering them in your field of vision, but beholding them as a person with worth and dignity. When we shine the light of our loving attention on people, they feel our acceptance and our respect. This sounds lofty, but it can be remarkably simple. Helping someone to feel seen can be as easy as cheering on a runner who's starting to flag, making eye contact as you hold a door, complimenting a stranger, making space for a driver to merge in traffic, learning the name of the person who makes your coffee or fills your gas tank, writing a note of condolence, acknowledging the efforts of a coworker, or asking a shy little girl for her opinion on shades of lipstick. What begins as a practice becomes a way of life as we move through the world, bestowing the gift of beholding on our fellow humans. I want to acknowledge that it can feel incredibly hard to muster this kind of open-heartedness and vulnerability in these difficult times. If you are feeling invisible, or unheard, or disregarded, you are not alone. Author Jamie Kern Lima tells us that it's easy to fall into the trap of feeling like you don't matter. When we start to hide who we really are, whether it's to protect ourselves or because we think we're not enough, it creates disconnection. Isolation is now so pervasive, it's become a public health crisis. In 2023, the US Surgeon General declared a loneliness epidemic. Humans aren't designed to live in isolation, so doing so takes a big toll on our health as anxiety, depression, heart disease, stroke, and dementia. The physical risks of severe loneliness are equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Luckily, Jamie Kern Lima has a helpful anecdote for us. She says, "Start by giving what you need. If you crave connection, acknowledgement, and love, give that same energy to another person. It's like magic. When you truly see someone else, you invite them to see you back. and the more you show up for others, the more you open yourself up to love and connection. It's a beautiful cycle, and it starts with you. If you want to see people light up, ask them about a time they felt truly seen. You will hear stories about pivotal life moments when a loved one or a stranger offered the insight and the compassion that changed everything. When I was 22, I experienced an existential crisis when my best friend backed out of our plan to move to Boulder, Colorado. For years, we had nurtured this dream of having a big, frolicking adventure together after college. I was devastated when she decided instead to start her next chapter in our hometown with her boyfriend. As I was relating my woes to another friend, he said, "Oh, I can totally see you making your way in Boulder on your own. You'll have a blast." Incredibly, it hadn't actually occurred to me that I could still go. In his recent book, How to Know a Person, David Brooks tells us that seeing someone well is a powerfully creative, spiritual act. No one can fully appreciate their own beauty and strengths unless those things are mirrored back to them in the mind of another. Being seen brings forth growth. If you beam the light of your attention on me, I blossom. If you see great potential in me, I will probably come to see great potential in myself. If you can understand my frailties and sympathize with me when life treats me harshly, then I am more likely to have the strength to weather the storms. In how you see me, I will learn to see myself. In my case, I owe an immense debt of gratitude to my friend who could see that audacity and independence in my young self. Summoning my courage, I drove myself and all my worldly belongings across 8 states. I'd never actually been to Boulder, and didn't know anyone there, and arrived with no job and no place to live. It turned out to be an amazing, life-changing adventure, and one of the best things I've ever done. As we wrap up, let's expand our lens beyond the personal and behold the collective view. We are living in a wonderfully pluralistic, multiracial, multicultural, democratic society, and it is not going well. The founding ideals of our nation have outpaced our people skills, and the social fabric is fraying fast. David Brooks describes this cultural moment as a vast, emotional, relational, and spiritual crisis. Over several generations, our educational institutions have shifted focus from shaping good people for civil society to preparing us for our future careers. Here's Brooks again. Given the breakdown in basic moral skills, we struggle to see, understand, and respect other people in all their depth and dignity. The result is disconnection, alienation, and a culture in which cruelty is permitted. Our failure to treat each other well in the small encounters of everyday life has metastasized into the horrific social breakdown we see all around us. This is a massive civilizational failure. In this age of creeping dehumanization, our national survival depends on citizens who can look across difference and show the kind of understanding that creates the possibility for trust. We need those who can say, I'm beginning to see you. While I'll never experience life as you do, I'm learning bit by bit to see the world through your eyes. My friends, if life feels hard and scary right now, it's because we've reached a critical juncture. Our people and our country are hanging in the balance. The good news is that we can choose to lift our eyes and behold one another with dignity and delight. When despair threatens to sink us, let's call on the cacophony of those who faithfully line the streets year after year to cheerfully witness strangers running past. Start by giving what you need. Make the effort to treat people well in the small encounters of your everyday life. It costs nothing to help someone feel seen, and life presents us with endless opportunities to share this gift. What begins as a practice becomes a way of life. It's up to us to call forth the beauty in one another and in our world. I see you. I love you.